Hello and welcome to Screeps. Now I know I've played Screeps before a few times on not really necessarily an offline video on this channel like this one is, but I have done live streams on YouTube live stream. I've done Twitch live streams of this game, always sort of beginning a couple times, then petering out and ending. And what's different this time is I now have a private server up and running. Now this isn't open to the general public, so I'm sorry if you're watching and you would love to join in. If there is enough demand, I might be able to throw something together for us, but they can be a little bit of expensive, so I don't want to like jump into that right away. But my work has set up a private server for us and us employees and also the students. So what I want to do is sort of jump in here before it gets too crazy. There's only one human other player that has a game going on, and I'm just going to sort of document my way as I build this out, and hopefully this will help the students who are new to JavaScript and maybe thinking about joining in, but not sure about joining in our community here, or also just like as it goes on, how a dev like me approaches problems and thinks about AI stuff, which I am definitely not normally in the mind of like AI and building those up. So for those of you who are new to Screeps, what this is a RTS game. If we come in here and take a look at Sea Monkey here, we can take a look at what's going on here. I'll make this full screen for us. Okay, so we can, it's in the build mode, view mode. Okay, so we can see here that he has a spawn point, that's his central building, and this is where he creates all of these individual units, which are called creeps in this game. And looks like he has this big walled off section here, natural wall barriers all around to protect him. This is his upgrader for the room that basically controls the ownership of the room and also what other buildings he can build. Like for example, this tower so that he can shoot down enemies, although currently it looks like it doesn't have any energy inside of it. He also has some roads to make it easier to walk on, and a bunch of them are just sort of moving around with energy, mining energy from these sources, and sort of going about their business. So for me, I haven't really looked too much in this entire world area, but I'm thinking about going in here. There are more rooms that enemies can come in, but hey, this is a private world, and if I end up getting sniped by a coworker or a student, that's perfectly fine. So the main thing that I'm looking for here is this energy. We're going to be able to get 1, 2, 3 creeps on here, and 1, 2, 3, 4 creeps on here to begin with in the early game. I don't really know any good strategies for like placing a spawn, so I'm just going to come in on here and put it right in the middle, and I'm fine with calling it spawn 1. And so as I've got this right here, it's going to sit here and do absolutely nothing. You'll notice that there's absolutely no controls for the game here, and that's because the second part of Screeps is that it's a programming game. The only way to play it is to write JavaScript code. And so I have VS Code open here on the right, and we're going to do exactly that. So the first thing that I want to do is basically determine if this is full of energy, then I want to spawn a new creep. And that will be well, I was thinking like the tutorial for it, which is excellent by the way, told me that I should get harvester creeps and like use that to refill this and potentially any energy containers that I have throughout the room, extensions. So I see no reason not to do that. So let's begin. First of all, I'm going to open up my console here so I can see any output. If I just do something like console.log, hello, and save it, we get hello over and over and over again. It's just it's recalling my code over and over. So let's not do that. I'm instead going to, and as soon as I save it, it executes here, and I can then clean up the console. So they're going to call a function called loop. And inside of this, I can do another console.log just to another maybe hi. And then I'm going to module.exports equals loop. Or it's actually module.exports equals an object that has loop in it. Okay, and then it calls this for us. Perfect. So let's go ahead and get rid of this console log. Save that, clear our console. Okay, so as you can see, we have absolutely nothing. This spawn isn't really doing anything for us. The first thing that I want to do is, well, just probably like call some kind of like spawning code that's going to check to see, do we have enough energy to spawn a new unit? And if so, then spawn a new unit. So I think the first step of what I'm going to do here is set up some kind of, well, like spawning system where the first thing we want to do is check to see, hey, spawner, do we have enough, like how much energy do we have? So let's sort of like figure out what we can do. We can get the, oh, not the world. We want to go here and documentation. That allows us, all right, that's really big. Okay, so over here in control, we want to get, I get access to the spawns. So I can first do a for of loop to go through the object that holds all of the spawns. So let's do for let name of, oh no, I don't think I can do of. I think it's name in game.spawns. It might be lowercase. And then in here, the first thing I'm going to do is const spawn equals game.spawns name. Okay, so this will give me the spawn itself. And now we can start doing some basic, here's our API reference. We're now going to be able to take a look at the spawn itself. So let's look at structure spawn. Ooh, where to go? API reference. All right, I want structure spawn. And I see, okay, position room hits max. Structure type, destroy is active. Energy, so energy and energy capacity. So there's that. There's also the idea of a room. And I kind of wonder, is the structure spawn, can I get access to the room? There's owner, name, room. Okay, so I can get to the full room, and then the room object, I can get, oh, where is it? It's right up here. It's energy available, total amount of energy available on all spawns and extensions in this specific room, and then energy capacity available. So we're going to go through, we're going to get all these spawns, and we're going to ask the spawn. And the way I'm sort of going to think about this is, if like this were in real life and we were actually there, the way it would work would be like we'd wake up and like, you know, radio down and say, hey, people running the spawn, take a look at the room and tell me, do you have enough energy to spawn a unit? So we can create a function that does that and have a sort of const result, or maybe if can spawn creep. And so can spawn creep is going to be our own function we're going to write, but we haven't written it yet. So we'll take care of that in a little bit. So if can spawn creep, well, we need to pass in the spawn. And I also want to pass in, well, the room is going to be available in the spawn, isn't it? We have the spawn, and actually I kind of want to, let's see. It's really just going to be with this function doesn't want to make any sort of like assumptions. We could even have up here, maybe not in the loop, maybe above it, we can say const creep. This might be a sort of a constant here, like a true constant. Creep body. And we're going to make this now. We have, how much do we have to work with here? 300 energy. All right, so let's go take a look at the creep body parts. So here's the body parts and the build cost. Move costs 50. So we definitely want move. Work costs 100. Carry costs 50. And then we have attack and ranged attack and heal and claim and tough. Okay, so early on in a game, I don't care about any of these besides move, work, and carry. And so the carry, I believe, is empty unless he's actually carrying something. And so I'm going to want to be able to, my one move will counter the work. And I'll need a second move for the second carry, or I'll just let them be really slow. And so it'll be work, carry, let's see, 100, and then 50, 50 is 200. I could even do work, work, carry, move. And it will do the work twice as fast, but it'll move really slowly. I think I kind of like the idea of work, carry, carry. That's 100, 150, 200, move, move, 300. Let's do that. So we're going to do. And apparently the way they lose these is in battle. If somebody's attacking your creep, they lose from the left first. So I would rather the work to be destroyed first if they're running away. So work, and then we want 2 carries. So this is going to be 100, 150, 200, and then 250, 300. All right, so this gives us a sort of like a template creep body that we can use. And now if I can I spawn the creep? I want to pass in all of these things to this function. And the reason why I want to pass it in is I don't want the function to have to like make any assumptions or have the developer have to sort of like a future developer, which is me most likely, go around looking in the code to figure out what's really going on. So instead it's going to be, okay, that name, we have the spawn, let's pass in the spawn, and it actually doesn't care about the spawn, does it? It's only the room. So I want to pass in const room equals spawn. So I'm going to take out the room a little bit from here, destructure it out. Now the only reason I'm doing this like this right here so that I can then pass it straight in here in preparation for destructuring on the other side. So I'm going to have room and the creep body. So if I'm passing these two things in here, if we can spawn the creep, then we're going to tell the creep to spawn. So it's spawn dot, and let's go see how that works. Let's go back down to structure spawn. Can create creep, spawn creep is the only non crossed out one here. Okay, so body, name, and optional options. Body and name are required. Oh, that's interesting. So I'm going to have some kind of name here too. So maybe like a generate random name. Const name equals generate random name. And spawn dot, well, I guess, do I want to do this here? I think so. Let's just do this here. So it's going to be spawn dot spawn creep. And we're going to pass it in the body. So that would be the creep body. And we're going to pass it in the name. So name. And any options. So options is an object with additional options for spawning process. Memory, energy structures, if dry run is true, and directions. Set desired directions where the creep should. Okay, that's nice. Oh, and it's going to have a return value. We'll take care of that in a second. Okay, so we are going to want options here. So const options. So specifically, memory is the thing that I'm the most interested in right here. So memory, and inside of memory, I want memory of the new creep. If provided, it will be immediately stored into memory.creeps of name. So when the creep is created, it will have this memory. So like it will be, for example, we'll have working false. And we also are going to want to have what for it? Well, it's going to have a role, right? Because we're going to say like, hey, what do we need? And our metaphor of like the workers that are inside of the spawn here, radioing back, they're saying, oh, we don't have any miners. We don't have any harvesters that are going to go get energy and bring it back to us to refill us. So let's call that a harvester. So role harvester. Okay. So we'll do that. We have our memory. I'm curious about whether or not this is going to work or whether or not it's going to try to like JSON stringify it and then it'll like break it. Normally in objects, the trailing comma does work. Okay, so once we have our memory, then we're going to pass these options in. But it also tells us that there's this return value. So we have okay, error not owner, error name exists. See, that's a problem. If there's a creep with the same name already. Error busy, not enough energy, invalid arguments, not enough. I think right now I want to just say we can call this with an if. if that's okay, then what do we want to do? We probably want to just, we have our name here. We can now just say console.log spawning, and I want a ES6 template string this. Spawning name as a well, let's just do options dot memory dot role. And now let us sort of like see, oh, look, we're spawning this harvester. And because later on, we're not going to want to spawn a harvester. We're going to want to spawn something else as well. Okay, so we have our if statement here. Going to make this just a teeny bit bigger. Oh, actually, I'm going to, there we go. All right, and then we have our else. So otherwise, if we can't spawn the creep, we should console.log something went wrong trying to spawn a creep, and I want to put, well, I guess I lost what the error was. I'll just say something went wrong for right now. And if it like continues to happen, we can come in here and maybe change the code. So for right now, if I hit save, we have a giant error. Oh yes, of course, can spawn creep is not defined, because like this is defined, but this is not. And so this is what I call, or actually many people call, error-driven development. I've written my code as if it already exists, and now all I need to do is write more code until the errors go away, and then I'm done. So I want to write function can spawn creep, and this is going to take in an object that has room:room and creep:creep body. And I can destructure that out right here because of really awesome ES6. So I'm going to say room and creep body. Now it may not feel like really super interesting here. What I really like about this is if I accidentally reverse this around and do creep body first and room second, it still just works, and everything is just fine. All right, so we can spawn creep. The only point about this is to determine, does the creep body, is this going to be, and I'm thinking now, instead of passing creep body, we should really pass the, like how expensive it is to create this creep body. So maybe instead of like creep body, we can do cost. This is gonna be just the key of this object. Calculate body cost, and we're gonna pass it in creep body. There, I like this a little bit more. So now we can, it's gonna be room and cost right here. But we are gonna need this other function here, which is calculate body cost, which takes in, notice in this one I'm not doing destructuring here, so because it's just a single parameter. So I can actually do this as the body. So we need to know, there's a bunch of, where is it? Here it is. There's a whole bunch of global objects here. Constants, here we are. And we want to find the cost constants, body part cost, and then we can just find these in there. So we already have an array right here. I kind of feel that we just want to essentially reduce this down into a single variable, a number, which sounds like reduce to me. So we're going to return body.reduce. And this is going to take a couple things in here. First of all, it's going to take our reducer. So it's going to be our total. And then it's going to be a body part. And then we're going to have like, what exactly are we sort of, what's our logic in here? Whatever we return down is going to be, you know, the new total for the next time. So it's probably going to be total plus, and then hopefully, like, we're going to need to make sure that this is a number. So body part is just a string. So it's going to have to be into body part cost. So body part cost, open bracket, and then body part, and that will be one of these values now. So that should give us the number there. And at the very end of the reduce, we want to give the initializer for what total is going to be, which is 0 in this case. So calculate body cost is going to be just, this is going to give us like how expensive it should be. Hopefully it should be 300, because that's kind of like what we were going with our with how much we assume it is based upon the documentation. So that gives us this. Cost will be 300. And now if can spawn creep, we can come back down to here. So room, let's take a look at what we've got in here for our room. Energy available and energy capacity available. So these are off of the object, so I should be able to destructure them out. So const, I believe it's energy available and energy capacity available equals room. So once we have that, then hopefully it should be if the cost, well, let's think about this. Do we even need energy capacity available? Not really, because if energy available is less than the cost, then we can't really do anything. But if we have more energy than cost, so I can still destructure this. I just don't need to destructure two things. And I'm just going to return, it's going to be if the cost is greater than energy available, that should not, that's the opposite. That's my dyslexia hitting in. Okay, so if the cost is less than the energy available, so if it costs, 300 and I have 350 available, then we should be able to make it. So this should be true at this point. Okay, let's open this up here. We still have these console errors hitting us, but let's go ahead and hit save, clear out our console, and we still got another error here. Generate random name is not defined. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a little bit fun. I don't know if there's any limitation on the name. I think it just has to be a string of some kind. So go ahead and generate random name. And we don't have any, like, I don't really know exactly what to put in here. So maybe I will just give it some random numbers. I think it would be interesting to maybe eventually like have an actual array of names to use and just have it randomly choose one of those, or maybe in generate random name, I do want sort of have this roll out here. So const roll equals in this case, we're just going to be hard coding it as harvester. Now it can just be roll like that because of ES6 or 2015 to be a little bit more precise. So now I can say const roll of harvester, const name equals generate random name. I can actually do that down here. We're going to pass in roll. So we're getting the roll in. Knowing the roll is that name, maybe we can just take a random number and add it onto the end of the name, and we just hope that we'll never get a collision. So let's get a random number. So const random number equals math.random, and it gives us the number between 0 and 1. So I'm going to want to scale this up by however big I want this random number to be. So let's do 100, and if we end up getting collisions, then we can sort of we can make this 10,000. And then we're going to math.floor this to round it down to basically, because we don't want it to be a number of like 900.02345, which is what math.random would give us. Okay, so we've scaled it up, we've floored it, we have a random number. We now want to return, and it's going to be the roll dash random number. We'll save that, and there we go. Spawning harvester 8527 as a harvester. And here it goes. And that gives us our first harvester. But of course, this harvester is not really doing anything. So we also need the code to make the actual creeps do whatever they're going to do. So in this case, we're really going to want these guys to go do other things. But I think for this first episode, I'm going to call it at that. And for the next one, we're going to make whatever harvesters that we're creating to actually go out and harvest. Now, before I forget, I am going to make sure I'm saving this. I do not have an active source control. I'm going to go ahead and change that really quickly. I'm going to put this on GitHub. And I'm going to make sure that in the video description down below, there is a link to the code on GitHub in case you want to follow along and take a look. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.